My childhood friend Sam is special to the new junior. Everyone says that the cold and aloof school heartthrob finally has feelings for someone. That day, both the junior and I were trapped in the fire. Without hesitation, he carried the junior out. My 7-year crush finally ended. But later, when another boy confessed to me, Sam tightly grabbed my wrist. His voice tense. So quick to move on? Weren't you in love with me? Chapter 1. I waited under the teaching building for over half an hour before Sam finally came out. Sam! I ran over to him. He lifted his hand, brushing his knuckles against my flushed cheek. Frowning. How long have you been waiting here? Over half an hour. Sam grabbed my wrist and pulled me towards the pavilion in front. Not afraid of getting sunburned? He lazily chuckled, then cupped my face with both hands to cool me down. I rubbed against his cool hands comfortably before speaking. No classes on Saturday. Let's go to the aquarium, okay? Sam didn't know I planned to confess to him that day. He paused for a moment. I already have plans with someone else on Saturday. You should find someone else. A bad feeling suddenly welled up in my heart, and I cautiously asked, with whom? Laura. That was a name I'd been hearing from Sam quite often recently. She was his direct junior. Lately, there were many rumors about her and Sam going around the school. Sam, who had always been indifferent to everyone and treated everyone the same, was now giving this junior special attention. Everyone was saying that the heartthrob, who had remained aloof for 3 years, finally had feelings for someone. Watching Sam departing back, I suddenly had a feeling. The confession I had carefully prepared was destined to end in failure. Chapter 2. On Saturday, I still went to the aquarium alone, but I didn't expect to run into Sam and Laura there. What are you doing here? Sam looked at me. I noticed the matching dolphin bracelets they were wearing, like a couple's set, and forced a smile. I told you a few days ago that I was coming to the aquarium. Maybe it was my tone that wasn't quite right, because Sam frowned and gave me a reproachful look. It seemed to ask, what are you messing around for? Laura blinked at me. Senior, why don't we hang out together? Before I could refuse, she had already linked her arm through mine. It was only a moment later that I regretted not rejecting her in time. Passing by a stall, both Laura and Sam were stopped. The vendor looked at them, smiling. Couples participating in the event can get a limited edition dolphin plush for free. The atmosphere instantly turned awkward. The vendor probably noticed that they both wore dolphin bracelets, while I had none, so he mistakenly thought they were a couple. Laura tugged on Sam's sleeve. Sorry, Senior. He misunderstood. Sam asked her, do you like that plush toy? Laura didn't answer, but her eyes shone brightly as she stared at the toy. Then, I watched as Sam agreed to participate in the activity. The activity itself was simple. All the guy had to do was princess carry the girl around the venue once. I stood by and watched as Sam effortlessly picked up Laura. The people watching around us began to cheer softly. Some even took out their phones to snap photos. Sam noticed this and pulled Laura into his chest to prevent her face from being captured. Then he frowned in displeasure at those taking pictures. The protective gesture was unmistakable. My nose felt a bit sour. It brought to mind the fact that, in the 10 years I'd known Sam, he had never once carried me. Back in high school, when I twisted my ankle, he merely stayed with me, waiting for my dad to pick me up. His voice was casual back then. Don't think about me carrying you back. I don't carry any girl unless she's my girlfriend. I wondered if he had forgotten what he said back then or if he already considered Laura his girlfriend now. Chapter 3. I had initially planned to leave, but I was still looking forward to the dolphin show, so I forced myself to endure the slight tightening in my chest, trying my best to ignore the two beside me. Sam knew I liked dolphins too, but he didn't even ask me if I wanted that plush toy. During the show, when a dolphin leaped up and splashed down into the pool, a huge spray of water came up. The three of us were closest, and there was no time to avoid it. Sam, standing between Laura and me, instinctively shielded Laura, blocking most of the water for her. I ended up getting drenched. Are you okay? Did you get wet? Sam asked urgently, ignoring the water on himself as he looked at Laura. The pool water is cold, and if you got soaked, you'll catch a cold again. Laura hastily pulled out a tissue, wiping Sam's forehead. I'm fine. Senior, you should wipe yourself off. Only when a staff member came running over to hand me a towel, saying, Miss, I'm sorry, the barrier is broken, so it didn't block the water properly. Did Sam and Laura finally turn to look at me, as if they just realized I'd also gotten soaked? Senior, do you need a tissue? Laura tentatively asked. I ignored her, focusing on wiping myself dry. Zoe, didn't you hear her talking to you? Sam questioned me sternly. I took a deep breath, holding back the stinging feeling in my eyes, staring directly at Sam. I've already got a towel. Can't you see if I still need tissues? Sam's gaze turned cold. What are you doing? Really? What's wrong with Laura asking you a question? Could you drop the princess attitude? His voice was icy, full of mockery. No one should spoil you except your parents. Apologize. Sam looked at me indifferently, his tone commanding. Laura spoke up at the right moment. It's okay, she said to Sam in a seemingly relaxed tone. I've been like this since I was little. Because of my family's circumstances, teachers and classmates have always looked down on me. Being ostracized and picked on is normal. No need to argue with the senior. I'm used to it anyway. Sam's face darkened, as if about to say something. Laura immediately interrupted. Senior, your clothes are soaked. Let me take you to dry them. With that, the two of them left without giving me a single glance, Laura pulling Sam along. I stood there, my hair dripping water mixed with tears onto my face. I wiped my face to hide it and silently walked out of the aquarium. Chapter 4. It was probably because the weather suddenly changed, with cold winds blowing. After getting home, I developed a high fever. I didn't go back to school until Monday. During that time, Sam called me once, but I missed it. I didn't reply to his WeChat messages either. Eventually, he came directly to my house. He was so familiar with the place that he entered my room without hesitation. Has your fever gone down? As he spoke, he moved as if to touch my forehead. I didn't have unrealistic expectations, thinking he was there to care about my health. But I also didn't expect that he was there to confront me. I turned my head to the side, avoiding his hand. I'm fine now. Did you need something? His hand froze midair. Zoe, what do you mean? Sam leaned against the wardrobe, looking down at me from above. Don't tell me you're still angry about what happened that day? What right do you have to be angry? Was it us who did something wrong? Suddenly, I felt exhausted. So, what do you want? I was indeed wrong. Wrong to have agreed to go to the aquarium with them. Sam's expression showed no emotion at my response. He didn't let it go. After you recover, apologize to Laura yourself. Why should I? My hand clenched tightly under the blanket. Sam let out a light laugh. Because your parents are asking for help from my family, asking my dad to acquire your family's nearly bankrupt company. You wouldn't want me to take such a small matter directly to your parents, would you? I sat up, staring at him without blinking. Tears uncontrollably streamed down my cheeks. Sam, we've known each other for 10 years, and you're forcing me over this now? He frowned, turning his face away. Because of your unreasonable anger that day, Laura was worried you'd be upset. She didn't even dry herself off properly before coming to find you, and ended up catching a cold, taking medicine for 3 days. Shouldn't you be responsible for that? Hearing this, my tears could no longer fall. I had a fever for 3 days, but in Sam's eyes, it didn't compare to his junior's cold. He even wanted to put the blame on me. I had no choice. If I refused to apologize, he'd just get my parents to force me to do it. There was no difference. I blinked, nodding. I understand. Sam looked at me for a couple of seconds, and his tone suddenly softened. Zoe, I don't mean anything else. I just want you to learn to take responsibility for your actions. I didn't say anything more, hiding myself under the blanket, blocking out all the sounds I didn't want to hear. Chapter 5. After recovering and returning to school, I happened to run into Sam and Laura. I walked straight up to Laura, looking at her seriously. I'm sorry, Junior. I shouldn't have been angry with you that day. It was my fault for not controlling my temper. Laura smiled gently. It's okay, Senior. I don't mind at all. I'm used to these things anyway. This was the second time she emphasized that she was used to being mistreated, whether it was intentional or not. I was too tired to care. I forced a perfunctory smile at her and turned to leave. As I walked past, Sam grabbed my wrist. Feeling better? I immediately pulled away, stepping back. Yes, my voice was calm. I thought I was just being self-delusional, thinking Sam treated me differently. I shouldn't have had any expectations. Sam watched me, his gaze obscure. "What's wrong with you?" I shook my head, my voice slipping into an uncontrollably distant politeness. "Nothing. I need to go to the library, so I won't bother you too. Right now." I couldn't afford to provoke Sam, so avoiding him was the best I could do. Sam's expression was impatient. "Why are you being so passive-aggressive?" I didn't quite understand why. Even after I graciously gave them space to be alone, Sam was still unhappy. Behind him, Lara's gaze flicked towards me, a momentary shadow passing through her expression. Before I could look more closely, Sam spoke again. "You never change. You'll never learn to respect others." He looked at me with disappointment, then turned and left with Lara. For a while after that, I didn't reach out to Sam once. He didn't either, probably busy spending time with Lara. In the beginning, I still felt sad. Occasionally, I'd think of the time when Sam and I were once so close. Back then, he was genuinely good to me. I thought this Cold War would go on endlessly, and that there would be no more intersections between me and Sam. But Lara wasn't satisfied with that. Chapter 6. Friday night. It was already 10:30 when I left the library. There was hardly anyone on this road. That night wasn't particularly lucky. I stumbled across a scene of bullying. Two girls held Lara in place while another slapped her repeatedly across the face, with unrelenting force. "You think you're so clever, huh? What's wrong with me bringing my boyfriend back to the dorm? You had to go tattle to the teacher, didn't you? How the hell does it concern you?" Lara's face seemed swollen from the slaps. This was the only way back to my dorm, and I hid not far away. There was no emotion in my heart. I only hoped they would finish quickly so I could go back. Luckily, after a few minutes, seeing that Lara didn't resist, their anger subsided. They threw her to the ground and left. "Have you watched enough?" Lara spoke suddenly from where she sat on the ground. I calmly stepped out. "I'm not interested in your affairs. I was just passing by." She let out a soft laugh. "Do you really think they hit me because I reported them to the instructor?" Lara gently tucked her hair behind her ear. "It was because her boyfriend showed interest in me that she got mad." "I'm not sad," she said. "At least it proves that just by standing there, I have a bunch of guys falling over themselves to hit on me, including Sam," she added with a smile. A chill crept up my heart. "It has nothing to do with me." Lara wasn't as innocent as she appeared on the surface. I had no interest in listening to her twisted reasoning. Just as I was about to turn and leave, she suddenly acted as if she had lost her mind, standing up and grabbing onto me. "You like Sam, don't you? What should we do, then?" "Because he likes me." She looked at me, her lips curving into a smile. Her words hit a sore spot, and I shoved her off. "Are you insane?" Suddenly, Lara seemed unable to stand and fell to the ground. I froze for a moment. I didn't even use that much strength. "Zoe!" My whole body went stiff. There was no mistaking the owner of the voice behind me. Sam rushed past me, running to Lara's side, helping her up. He slowly brushed aside Lara's hair, revealing the marks on her face. Then he looked at me with an especially dark gaze. How melodramatic. "It wasn't me who hit her. Don't look at me like that." Sam ignored me, speaking softly to Lara. "Was it her who hit you?" Lara gave a weak, pale smile, her eyes brimming with tears. "Forget it, Senior." She indirectly confirmed it. I laughed in anger. Believe it or not, just as I was about to leave, Sam blocked my path. "I'm not apologizing." "Sam, why should I apologize for something I didn't do?" His voice was indifferent, without a trace of emotion. "Fine." I was stunned, a bad feeling creeping up inside. "Lara, come here." He called Lara over. "Hit her back," Sam said. I stared at Sam, again and again. I questioned myself, is this really the childhood friend I grew up with? Sam looked down at me. "Your parents have spoiled you too much, turning you into this, even to the point of bullying others." My hand hung by my side, clenched tight, my face pale. You think I could have beaten her like this on my own? But he didn't believe me at all, only thinking I was making excuses. His voice was devoid of warmth. I don't want to lay a hand on you, he said to me. I looked at Laura in a daze, my voice hoarse as I asked, what exactly do you want? Laura suddenly burst into tears, sobbing uncontrollably. She walked up to me and slapped me. You're rich. You're a young lady. I'm so poor that I even need to scrape together money for tuition. You hit me. How could I dare to hit back? Can I afford your medical bills? If you held a grudge over that day at the aquarium, you could have just said so. You and the senior are childhood sweethearts. I'll leave you two alone. But did you really have to hit me? She shouted at me. Just because I'm poor and my family isn't as well off as yours, does that mean you can humiliate me like this? I couldn't hold back. My body shook with anger, and I raised my hand, about to slap her back. But Sam grabbed my wrist. Zoe. He looked at me as if I were a stranger. You needed to learn a lesson. As soon as he finished, he threw me to the ground. I watched the two of them walk away, then spoke softly. Sam, for these 10 years, I guess I just knew a dog. But what happened today won't end here. Under the dim moonlight, his figure paused for a moment, but he didn't turn back even once. Chapter 7. That road was too secluded. There were no surveillance cameras, and those 3 girls definitely wouldn't admit that they were the ones who beat someone up. I had no way to defend myself. After a long while, I got up from the ground and walked silently back toward the dorm. When I reached downstairs, Sam was standing under the streetlight, his expression dark. My gaze didn't linger on him for even a second, and I kept walking. But Sam walked straight in front of me, blocking my way. Get out of my way. I spoke weakly. He forcibly placed the ointment in my hand. Then, he raised his hand as if to touch the side of my face, still marked by a red welt. I turned my head away. He frowned, pursing his lips tightly. You hit Laura like that, and I only let her hit you back once. Zoe, stop being difficult with me. As soon as he finished speaking, his phone rang. He picked up the call, and I could clearly hear the exaggeratedly delicate voice on the other end. Senior, my wounds hurt so much. Can you come stay with me? Sam hung up the phone and immediately turned to leave. After a few steps, he seemed to remember me and looked back. His gaze was gentle, soothing. Remember to apply the ointment when you get back. Didn't you say you wanted to try the new wonton place outside of school? I'll take you there tomorrow. He seemed to be in a hurry and left without waiting for my response. I looked down at the ointment in my hand. I let my grip loosen slightly, and it fell to the ground, without sparing it another glance. I walked away. I once wanted to drag Sam along to try that wonton place, but he had only refused impatiently. He said, "Can't you go by yourself? I have classes scheduled all day." Later, when I decided to go by myself, I happened to see him through the restaurant window, sitting at a table with Laura. He said he was busy but was willing to make time for Laura. I never went to that wonton place after that. Now, I no longer want to go, and Sam had probably only said it casually. The next day, he didn't come looking for me. For once, I actually breathed a sigh of relief. Sam always used my parents' situation to pressure me, like a massive mountain weighing down on me. Chapter 8. But avoiding Sam and going after Laura, I could still do that. That day, I happened to have a class on the same floor as Laura. After class, I pulled her into a secluded area and gave her 2 quick slaps. I just hit you. What are you going to do? Call the police? I took out my phone, entered 110, and handed it to her. Aren't you afraid I'll tell Sam? She clutched her face, glaring at me. Go ahead, I said. Call him. He won't fight me. He'll just let you hit me. There are cameras here. I hit you, and I can pay for it. Can you? Like you said, even your tuition is put together piece by piece. Besides, she wouldn't dare trouble Sam too often. She feared Sam would lose patience with her, and then she would have no one to rely on at the school. Laura stared at me with unwillingness in her eyes. I sneered and turned to leave. I thought that would be the end of it, but I overlooked her vindictive nature. When I was trapped in a fire, on the brink of death, I regretted For a split second, ever giving her those 2 slaps. Chapter 9. That day, I was assisting my senior with an experiment in the chemistry lab. The senior had gone to another building to get some lab materials, leaving me to clean up. This building had been in disrepair for a long time. The windows and doors were problematic. I was just covering the alcohol lamp when Laura walked in, closing the door behind her. "You're the one spreading those rumors, aren't you?" I had no interest in entertaining her nonsensical accusations. I just looked toward the door, annoyed. "The door lock is broken. Once you close it, you can't open it from the inside." She seemed to not hear me at all, her gaze fixed intently on me. "Everyone is cursing me now. Are you happy?" I'd heard the recent rumors about Laura, that she was flirting with other people's boyfriends. Honestly, she had to know those 3 girls from that night were the prime suspects. But she didn't dare provoke those fringe troublemakers, so she came to vent her anger on me. I laughed angrily. "What? Are you paranoid? Laura, stop coming to me acting all pathetic. If Sam spoils you, that's his business. If you push me too far, I can do anything and I won't let you off easily." Laura bit her lip so hard it looked like it might bleed. I paused, suddenly realizing she seemed to have lost her senses. Just as I was still in shock, she walked up to me without warning and shoved me hard. Caught off guard, I stumbled back, my hand knocking over the alcohol lamp. 3 still-lit alcohol lamps collided and shattered, igniting sparks. Sparks flew onto the curtains nearby. The window was barely hanging on, with a large gap. With the cold, dry wind fueling the flames, the fire instantly spread. I had no time to stop it. In the blink of an eye, the flames consumed the entire curtain, then began to spread rapidly. The door was right next to the window. Laura and I were forced back into opposite corners. Me in the front corner. She ran to the farthest corner to hide. 2 tables stood between us. Whatever flammable materials were stored under the tables caught a spark, and in an instant, the fire spread across the entire table, forming a waist-high wall of flames. I shakily pulled out my phone, swallowing my fear as I called 119. Laura was also terrified. She immediately called Sam. The black smoke seeping through the window drew a crowd outside. Some people called the fire department. Others ran to get the instructor. No one dared come up, except Sam. But by then, the fire was out of control. "Senior, I'm here," Laura immediately shouted. I met Sam's gaze through the flames. "Sam, save me!" Ignoring all the tension between us, I called out for help, driven by instinct. I was scared too. I didn't want to die. Laura was still far from the fire. She had plenty of time, but the burning light fixture above my head was already swaying. "Sam, for the sake of our 10 years together, just this once, save me first." The door lock had warped in the high heat, and it was completely stuck, unless the door was broken down. "Senior, I'm so scared," Laura cried. Sam snapped out of it, staring at me deeply. "Zoe, wait for me." Then he ran toward the back door. He chose to save Laura first. When the burning light fixture fell, I couldn't avoid it. Barely conscious, I saw Sam carrying Laura away. This was the 3rd time he had left me behind. Chapter 10. I woke up in pain. My entire body lay face down on the hospital bed, avoiding pressure on the wounds on my back. Sam was sitting next to my bed, eyes closed. The moment I moved, he woke up immediately. "Zoe." Sam carefully helped me sit up. He knelt in front of me, looking tired, but still managed to pull out a flattering smile. "Do you want some water? Or are you in pain? I'll go get the doctor." "Where are my parents?" My voice, unused for so long, was especially hoarse. "They're tied up with the acquisition at a crucial stage. I told them I'd stay at the hospital to take care of you." I looked at Sam quietly for a long time. "Sam, I had a dream. I dreamed about that time in 4th grade when the earthquake hit, and I was stuck, unable to escape because of the crowd. You fought against the surging flow of people, running to pull me out, and got me out of the school building. I almost got swept away several times that day, but you held onto my hand tightly, not letting go even once. After that, I considered you one of the most important people in my life." Sam visibly paled. His lips trembled as he tried to reach for my hand. I'm sorry, Zoe. I'm so sorry. It's all my fault. I didn't let him touch me. Continuing in a calm tone. In the end, you really didn't have any obligation to save me first. Saving the one you love first is never wrong. But Sam, I can't just let it go. He seemed at a loss for words. Just looking at me helplessly, I spoke again, wanting to settle the final matter between us. I didn't hit Laura that night. Not even once. Whether you believe it or not. You chose to believe her without any proof and let me take a slap for nothing. I paid her back. And today, I'm paying you back. I slowly raised my hand, the movement causing some pain in my back. I pressed my dry lips together, feeling no emotion inside. The slap landed. He took it without protest, then looked at me with an expression I found incredibly fake. The blatant regret and concern in his eyes made me sick. Be careful not to strain your back. I let out a mocking laugh. Get out, Sam. Don't ever appear in front of me again. This time, even if you use my parents to threaten me, it won't work. Before Sam could speak, a voice at the door interrupted. Senior, if you're feeling better, could you do me a favor and stay away from my boyfriend? He has no obligation to take care of you. Laura stood at the door, giving me a smile that looked strained. So the two of them were already together. Sam looked at me, opening his mouth as if to explain something, but then fell silent. Laura, I smiled. Take your boyfriend and leave. Every second I look at you both makes me sick. And also, I said, looking at that girl who seemed as pure as a white lotus on the outside but was utterly rotten inside, using the dim light to catch her gaze, staring straight into her eyes. People always need to be responsible for what they've done, don't you think? The fact that she could stand in front of me now and provoke me meant that the school hadn't had time yet or didn't have enough evidence to pursue the matter of the lab fire. Although the camera inside the lab was destroyed, there was a camera in the hallway facing the door. It would have captured part of what happened. At the very least, Laura made the first move, which caused me to knock over the alcohol lamp. She couldn't escape that. It was obvious she had done something to cover her tracks. I looked down at Lara's shadow on the floor. She visibly shivered. Laura, are you scared too? Chapter 11. Sam still came by during the first few days, but I didn't let him into the ward. I don't remember when exactly, but eventually, he stopped coming altogether. The scars on my back started to grow new flesh. Every night, my back would ache and itch. It tormented me to the point where I could only barely fall asleep in the early hours of the morning. Perhaps Laura had forgotten. Or maybe she never took my warning seriously. That night, I was holding back from scratching the new skin on my back, a light sweat on my forehead. Suddenly, my phone lit up on the pillow. I unlocked it and opened the message. It was a picture sent from an unfamiliar number. It showed Sam holding Laura in his arms, leaning down to kiss her. Honestly, feelings of jealousy and envy had long since faded, but Lara's blatant provocation finally ignited my anger. Someone had to pay the price. Chapter 12. But before I could confront them, Sam showed up in front of me again. I had called my parents to say I was going back to school to pack up some things and would be recuperating at home for a while. Who knew that Sam would be there with them and overhear the conversation? He took it upon himself to go to my dorm and pack my things. And then he found my diary. It recorded every little thing about me liking Sam since I was 17. Sam stumbled into my house. He, who was usually so well-mannered, ignored the housekeeper's greeting this time. He pushed open my room door, eyes red as he looked at me, holding that notebook in his hand. All my embarrassment was laid bare in an instant, but it was only for a moment. I quickly calmed down. The veins on Sam's hand gripping the notebook were bulging. You've liked me since you were 17? He looked at me, his gaze intense and complicated. I met his gaze and simply said, but I stopped liking you the first time you left me behind at the aquarium, and after you left me behind at the fire that last time. It all completely ran dry. I blinked, my eyes stinging slightly, just feeling a bit sad for the silent fall of my unrequited feelings. I didn't know. His voice was so hoarse. Sam took a few steps forward, kneeling beside my bed, frowning in a daze, murmuring, I never noticed. Even if you tried desperately to hide ardent love, It will still escape from your eyes. But you never looked into mine. Your eyes were always full of Laura. I no longer cared to complain to him. Don't put on that face. Sam, you and Laura are good together. Perfect. Actually, Sam suddenly looked up, shaking his head with a bitter smile. I guess I don't really like her that much. After she got hit that time, I started having doubts. She didn't seem like the person I thought she was anymore. To Sam, Laura was pure, gentle, and innocent. But when Laura slapped me, it revealed her vindictive true colors. Sam's perfect image of her began to crack. Once the girl he liked did something he didn't approve of, his feelings began to wane. See, he's no good either. The only reason he's still willing to be with Laura is because he still holds some hope for his delicate flower. The illusion hasn't completely shattered. That day, Sam looked at me with an expression that was extremely complicated for a long time. No matter how harshly I spoke, he accepted it all. In the end, he only left me with one cryptic sentence. Leaning against the door, he gave a bitter smile. Zoe, what should I do? It seems I've messed up a lot of things. I had no obligation to help him figure it out, only wanting him to leave. Sam waved my diary a little, then asked softly, I haven't finished reading it. Can I borrow it for a couple more days? I didn't care. It's just trash. Even if you return it, I'd throw it away. Something that recorded my love for a piece of trash is also trash. He looked down at the notebook, his voice very soft in response. No, it's not. Chapter 13. When my scars healed enough, I went back to school. Everything I went through for no reason needed an answer. Only then would it be fair. Laura told Sam that I hit her, and whether he believed it or not, I no longer cared. I didn't need to prove my innocence to him, but getting slapped for no reason couldn't just end like that. I found the girl who had hit Laura that day. The enemy of an enemy doesn't always become a friend, but they can become a temporary ally. She provided me with the information I needed. She didn't even try to hide it. She told me outright that the rumors about Laura back then were indeed spread by her. The girl spoke in a harsh, blunt way. Words like bitch were used. According to her, Laura really did flirt with a lot of guys. But lately, she'd stopped, probably because she was now officially with Sam. Sam had disappeared for several days. It wasn't until a week later that I saw him and Laura together again. I wasn't sure if it was just my imagination, but Sam looked lost. Moreover, my eyes focused on the red stains on his fingertips. It was the first time I'd seen him smoking. Laura tried to hug him, but he avoided her, so she settled for holding his hand instead. I stood in the shadows not far away, capturing the scene and sending it to several unfamiliar numbers. One of them was the boyfriend of the girl who had hit Laura. Laura had admitted herself that the reason she was beaten was due to her ambiguous relationship with that guy. He went to the school next door. The rest were also guys who had unclear relationships with Laura. Within about half an hour, 3 of them had shown up. What started as a verbal confrontation quickly escalated, with one of them getting so agitated he began pushing her. He even slapped Laura. A guy, over 6 feet tall and well-built, slapped Laura hard enough to knock her to the ground. She even started bleeding from her nose. And Sam stood there, coldly watching the whole time, only frowning slightly when Laura got hit. A growing crowd gathered to watch, and some bystanders filmed the scene, uploading it to forums and school platforms. Lara's reputation was utterly destroyed. At the same time, it was revealed why there was no saved footage from the camera outside the lab. Despite it recording everything, one of the guys Laura had been involved with was a computer science major. He chased after Laura for half a year without getting anywhere. Until this happened, Laura used the promise of being with him as a bargaining chip, convincing him to break the law and hack into the school's surveillance system, transferring the footage. Yes, transferring, not deleting. He'd kept a copy for himself, wary that Laura might betray him once she got what she wanted, keeping it as leverage. But he didn't expect that her downfall would come before she had the chance. The guy realized who Laura really was and voluntarily confessed, handing over the original footage. Considering that he turned himself in, he was only detained for a few days and given a warning. But Laura wasn't so lucky. Someone compiled all her wrongdoings and exposed her on Weibo. The matter kept gaining traction, drawing considerable public attention. intentionally getting involved in others' relationships, keeping entanglements with multiple guys at the same time, and most importantly, breaking the law. The calls for Laura to be expelled grew louder. In the end, the school couldn't withstand the pressure and subtly suggested that Laura drop out before the police took her away. She once prided herself on attracting so many guys, but ultimately paid the price for it. Before Laura left, she tried to find Sam again, and I happened to come across them. She clutched at Sam's sleeve, sobbing softly. Please, don't break up. I never liked those people, and I never did anything with them. I only like you. You're the only one I've fallen for. But Sam just pulled his sleeve back indifferently. Laura, the problem is, I think I don't like you. His words left Laura stunned. Sam looked down, his voice cold. Honestly, after finding out everything you've done, I didn't really feel anything. I always thought my ideal partner would be a pure and gentle girl. You fit that perfectly, and I thought I liked you. But lately, I've realized I got a lot of things wrong. Whether or not you did those things, I was still planning to break up with you. Sorry for letting you misunderstand for so long. With each sentence Sam spoke, Lara's face turned paler. Even after Sam left, she stood there. Her cries grew louder and louder, her expression of pain seemingly genuine. Laura ultimately faced the consequences of her own actions. She played with the emotions of so many guys, only to fall for someone who didn't like her. Chapter 14. Later, Sam found out by chance the truth about Laura being beaten. Before I could seek him out myself, he showed up in front of me. He cornered me at the dormitory building. I misunderstood you, Zoe. I was wrong. Then, without warning, he grabbed my hand and tried to make me hit him. I frowned and pulled my hand back. Are you crazy? He stubbornly stared at me. You can hit me as many times as you want. He pursed his lips and added quietly, as long as you can forgive me. That's impossible. I rejected him outright. Sam, the damage you've done to me is irreversible. Even though the scars on my back weren't directly your fault, every time they itch when the weather changes. I remember how you left me that day. I gave a self-mocking smile. I really can't let it go. Pushing Sam away, I walked off, but his voice called out again from behind. Zoe, I know saying this now will only make you hate me more, but I still have to say it. I've been reading your notebook over and over these past few days, recalling everything between us as you wrote it. Those moments when you felt something for me. I felt it too, but back then, I didn't understand. I thought it was just special care for a little sister. He spoke without much confidence, but his words were too clear. I actually liked you a long time ago. I just didn't realize it. No, you didn't. No one likes someone like that. You just feel guilty, regretful, and touched after realizing I liked you for so many years. Those mixed emotions made you mistake it for love, but I didn't want to get entangled with him anymore. As if I hadn't heard a word, I kept walking, eyes straight ahead, not stopping. Yet Sam was incredibly persistent. The former golden boy seemed to be experiencing a delayed rebellious phase. He skipped his classes, got lost in bars, and started carrying a pack of cigarettes in his bag. Chapter 15. That day, my roommate dragged me to the field. When I saw the elaborate confession setup and most people staring at me, I realized belatedly, I was the one being confessed to, and the junior confessing to me, I barely even remembered his face. He held a large bouquet of Bulgarian roses, looking a little flushed, stammering as he confessed. The cheers around us grew louder. My words of rejection got stuck in my throat. If I rejected him now, it would embarrass him in front of everyone. I looked at the flowers in front of me, troubled, hesitantly reaching out when suddenly, I was yanked by the wrist, roughly pulled into a secluded corner. Sam reeked of alcohol, but his gaze was unusually sharp and cold. The grip on my wrist hurt, giving me no chance to resist. His eyes were locked on mine, and his words were painfully cutting. Zoe, don't tell me you're planning to accept him. Have you moved on that fast? Can you really just let go of whatever feelings you had for me so easily? Before he even finished speaking, I slapped him without hesitation. Jerk. Sam turned his head slightly, sneering as he pressed his cheek. He moved his hand and pulled me toward him. Our noses were almost touching. Zoe, What do I have to do for you to forgive me? Tell me. I'll do anything for you. His eyes were red at the corners. Tears barely held back. He spoke the humblest words, but his actions were still rough and stubborn. Please, Zoe, don't treat me like this. Looking at the boy in front of me who was so different from before, I calmed down again. Sam, you left me behind 3 times for Laura. If you can make those 3 times never happen, I'll forgive you. Between Sam and me lay an insurmountable chasm, and his attempts to build a bridge between us were all in vain. He looked at me, defeated. Without a word to argue, I finally pulled my hand free. Without waiting for his response, I turned and walked away. After walking some distance, I suddenly remembered something and looked back. Sam was still standing there, staring in the direction I was leaving. It seemed like everything had reversed since he found that notebook. The one left behind had become him. But I didn't feel happy because of it. Instead, his persistence only left me feeling tired and frustrated. Chapter 16. This winter seemed particularly long. Around the holidays, my parents' acquisition case was nearing its conclusion. We were moving out of our old villa. Finally being able to get far away from Sam was the one thing I found worth celebrating. I was so happy that I didn't even notice when he suddenly stopped appearing around me. Not until I got a call from Sam's mother. She was crying uncontrollably. Zoe, can you come see Sam? I really don't know what to do anymore. Sam was injured. Burns. His mother told me that half a month ago, Sam was passing by an apartment building. There was a fire on the 3rd floor. A girl was trapped inside, and the firefighters hadn't arrived. He rushed in like a madman and saved her, but his entire arm was severely burned. Zoe. Ah-hun has always been haunted by not being able to save you from the fire in time. He must have thought of you, which is why he risked his life to save a stranger. His mother pleaded, please help Auntie. Come see him. I hated Sam, but I couldn't ignore the auntie who had always been kind to me. Seeing Sam again was extremely complicated. He was half leaning against the headboard, looking weak and dejected. Zoe, I finally understand now. It really hurts. The scars stretched from his arm all the way to his neck. Sam gave a faint smile. For the first few days, the pain kept me up all night. When it finally started to heal, it began itching, like countless worms crawling all over my arm. Yes, that was how it was for me back then too. Sometimes I think, maybe I should just cut it off. He looked at his arm, speaking in a calm voice as if he really had that thought. I rubbed my temples wearily, sighing. Sam, stop doing these things that make you feel like a hero. Even if you save thousands of people trapped in fires, it has nothing to do with me. Can you make my scars disappear? Then what should I do? Zoe? He stared at me blankly. Tell me, what should I do? I looked at the sunlight streaming through the window, and it seemed I could feel a hint of warmth. After a few seconds, I slowly spoke. Sam, liking someone should make them happy, shouldn't it? My gaze returned, meeting his. But what you've done hasn't made me happy at all. In fact, it's been quite distressing. This kind of love is too twisted. If you keep this up, I might have to consider taking a leave of absence just to avoid you. I shouldn't have to pay for your regrets. When he heard the words leave of absence, his body stiffened almost imperceptibly. His hand unconsciously clenched the blanket. Sam looked down and nodded. I won't bother you anymore, and I'll try not to appear in front of you again. Zoe, can you not take a leave of absence? He sounded like he'd been reduced to dust, asking so cautiously. I didn't like seeing him like this. It gave me the feeling that he was the victim. I looked away without answering. Just before leaving, I emphasized one more time. Really, don't come to disturb me again. Sam, I understand. It wasn't until I stepped out of the Pei family's villa that I took a deep breath. The inexplicable weight in my chest dissipated. The warm noonday sun shone on me, melting away some of the lingering coldness. I stretched out my hand to feel the warmth. The last trace of chill seemed to be fading away as well. This winter, it seemed it was finally ending.